Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second in our series of the Gastronomy Forum. My name is Nicola Madden-Gregg, and I'll be your moderator this evening, and I'm the chairman of the Tourism Gastronomy Network. So we're very excited to have you today as we'll be looking at an innovative gastronomy businesses across Jamaica. And we have a great panel of experts who will be sharing with you insights on what they have been doing, as well as giving you some further insights into other participants and businesses across Jamaica who have pivoted during this time of COVID-19. So to start us off, I'm just going to set the scene in terms of what has been happening on the worldwide stage in terms of innovation in gastronomy and looking at how some of our local companies have pivoted in that direction. I'm going to introduce our panelists, which today we have Monique Powell, who is the CEO of Quick Plate. We have Nazma Chin, who is a festival manager for the Jamaica Food and Drink Festival and a marketing and event strategist. Now, Nazma has had over 15 years in the event and marketing industry, and she has brought a special tenacity and finesse to any project. She has a passion for doing things differently, and she's created a reputation for producing campaigns and events that are conversation starters and market leaders. We also have Kimberly Dunkley, who is a culinary marketer and international event and wedding planner. Kimberly has been in the business for quite a while, starting in hospitality in the hotel sector, and has grown into many different aspects of the industry and has been a tourism champion over the years. We also welcome Chef Brian Lumley, who is the executive chef at District 5. Brian is one of those faces and names that you constantly hear. He's highly respected among industry stakeholders and stands out for his humility, warmth, and impeccable work ethic. He's currently the executive chef at the R Hotel in Kingston, and Brian is here to share his insights with us today. So let's jump right in it, and I'm going to share some insights on where we are in terms of trends. So what is happening out there in the international marketplace? Clearly, we all know that localization is hot. Supporting local brands, farms, and artisans is really where we see a lot of focus now in gastronomy. Pop-ups are also the rage. We see them happening all over the place. And customization and personalization is on trend, especially for weddings and special occasions. And with COVID-19, events have to be reimagined. So before, we'd have these really fantastic events and lots of persons. And now with some of the different things in terms of social distancing, we have to reimagine how we present events. So as I said, localization is key and continues to grow. And that is something we are going to take a focus on because as our gastronomy network, we know partnering with agriculture is very critical to the survival and the push of the Jamaican gastronomy movement. What else is happening? We are seeing what we called these very unique things where restaurants are starting to do meal kits. And that is something that's a growing segment in the US. And we want to check out with our panelists today, are Jamaicans warming up to restaurant meal kits? And they have Butcher Block as one of the local restaurants that has started this trend out, and many are sure to follow. Pizza. Pizza was one of the winning foods of 2020 during the pandemic. And we see a lot of local chains and independent caterers offering up this lovely meal. And you can order it and get it online. And we just wanted to give you a sample of one of the local caterers who have pivoted into the pizza market, and that is Christina Simonich with her electric pizza. Small restaurants. This is also a new trend. Are dining rooms disappearing? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. What will it look like post-COVID-19? Due to the challenges of social distancing and the necessary scale backs, many restaurants have had to pivot to takeout and drive-through. Of course, we have seen many pickup windows, and we have seen that restaurants are also looking to pop up in parking lot gardens and other unique locations. We also are seeing next level charcuterie, and these are someone that Pink Apron, one of our local caterers, is also doing. And you're seeing just how unique this concept is that, you know, we used to see it as mainly just cheese and breads, and now we're seeing it taken to another level. So these are some of the trends that we're seeing out there. Yes, and delivery has evolved. The Jamaican landscape has exploded during COVID-19 with new entrants offering new ways to do delivery. Today, we have Monique who will speak specifically to QuickPlate and what they have done in terms of repositioning, reimagining themselves in order to operate in this new environment. We're also seeing reduced human interaction and hello to technology. QR codes and delivery apps are all over the place. You no longer get a restaurant menu, you get a nice QR code to download your menu, and that is something that will change how we interact going forward. More outdoor dining. We are seeing again that Jamaica is offering this. We have Spheres Jamaica, which is offering a very unique concept in terms of social distancing and being able to have these bubbles of dining. We also have the Jamaica Pegasus, which is offering outdoor private dining, taking their restaurant into the gardens and various aspects on the property, where you can curate a 5 or 3 or 6 course dinner and really enjoy the outdoors. Events are also happening virtually or hybrid and more. And we just have to give plugs to our own event, which is Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival, which will be presented virtually to you coming up on Saturday. So that being said, to set the pace, we're going to start out now with Monique from QuickPlate, who is going to share with you a little bit about what they have been doing to innovate in the light of COVID and the future of gastronomy. Monique, over to you.
Thank you. So, first of all, what is QuickPlate? So QuickPlate is a platform that allows people to go online, see a list of restaurants in their area, browse the menus, place their orders online, pay online, and then have the food delivered to their doorsteps. So QuickPlate's role in the whole gastronomy space is that we give restaurants a platform through which they can connect with people who are looking to discover new food or new restaurants, or who simply want an easy way to order from the restaurants they know and love. We give them a turnkey solution, so to speak. So in one go, we allow restaurants to be able to accept online payments, be able to have an online storefront, so to speak, have delivery services without having to do any of themselves. Since COVID-19, I would say that we've seen a definite spike in the number of restaurants looking to join our platform, and we've been able to quickly facilitate them by getting them up and running pretty quickly. And another thing we also started to notice was that we were getting more and more requests from other parts of the island for a service like this. And in line with, or as a response to those requests, we recently launched in Montego Bay. So prior to that, we were only operating in Kingston and St. Andrew. A month ago, we started in Montego Bay, and the response to that has been pretty good so far. Because, you know, what we realize is that with the COVID-19 crisis, we've kind of become an essential service, so to speak, because of the fact that we are allowing people to get what they need without leaving home. And for some people, this is critical. For some people, it's a nice to have. For some people, it's an absolutely critical thing for them. And, you know, recognizing the important role that we now have, we've been continuing to streamline our processes and ramp up our platform to ensure that we're able to serve the increasing number of people and restaurants who have been turning to us. So we have been doing a lot over the last year or so, you know, mostly in terms of internal innovation, you know, being able to handle a higher volume of orders at any given point in time and doing whatever it takes to allow us to comfortably do that. And we'll continue along that path of innovation, you know, just making sure that we're the restaurants and the diners who are depending on us with the best experience possible.
Thank you, Monique, for that really good information in terms of where you are with Quick Plate. Now we're going to move on to Nazma, who is going to take us through what she has been doing on the forefront of events with the Jamaica Food and Drink Festival and how they have pivoted in this time of COVID. Nazma, over to you.
5 years ago, we had a vision to redefine Destination Kingston by carving our own niche as the world's coolest food destination. We took you on thoughtfully designed food journeys and curated memorable food experiences, exhilarating menus, iconic Jamaican landmarks, and a following of millions, online and off, unified in celebration of the unique flavors and vibe that mark brand Jamaica. Dubbed one of the top 5 global events in October, recognized by USA Today, Yahoo News, World Food Travel Magazine, featured in The Daily Meal, Saveur, and over 50 international food blogs, Jamaica Food and Drink is taking Jamaican gastronomy to the world. And we have each and every one of you to thank for this. Today, as we step into the next 5 years, we are faced with global challenges. But we are determined that the Jamaica Food and Drink brand will continue to make a difference to our community, to our industry, to our nation. As we continue to make our mark in the culinary entertainment space, we present a vibrant new look and feel that will see the spirit of the Jamaica Food and Drink Festival present throughout the year. A promise over the next 6 months of new and amazing platforms for our chefs. New ways for our partners to tap into the excitement that great culinary experiences provide, and endless new avenues to create memorable food experiences. Jamaica Food and Drink, a new look, new chapter, and new experiences. Stay tuned, these are exciting times.
Thank you, Nick, for that welcome. I am very happy to be on the panel with a bunch of persons who are actually very close to this project in some shape or form, Food and Drink Festival, or have been an integral part of what we've been doing. Just to piggyback on Monique coming in, Monique actually was our delivery partner last year for Experience in a Box. And we had rave reviews. You know, the service was impeccable, persons were thrilled, and I think it gave both parties, both Food and Drink Festival and Monique, the opportunity to create or deliver in an innovative way, you know. And so I'm very happy that I'm on the panel with you, because this really is part of how we pivot, because we have to pivot together. You know, everyone in the industry has to pivot together. Partnerships are extremely important. When it comes to innovation, well, for us at Food and Drink Festival, we believe that we are continuously innovating. You know, every year we have to put out a product that is new and different, and it keeps people coming back and wanting more. This quote here is really interesting, and it speaks to a lot about what we do. Creativity is thinking of new things. Innovation is doing new things. Everybody can be creative. Everybody has an idea. Everybody, you are not the first person in the billions of people that have walked this planet that has come up with an idea or a solution for something. But innovation is, are you capable and willing to get it to market? How do you create? How do you bring it into reality? And what we saw last year is a true focus on a lot of things. And one, I would say, which is really important in the innovation pipeline, is passion. I will say that everyone last year, and especially on this panel or across the food and beverage industry in Jamaica, had to show up with a lot of passion, because it was a difficult year. It was a year where we had to step up to the plate, no pun intended, but we also had to dig deep. And for a lot of us in the industry, whether it is the restaurants or scale-up businesses or events, we had to think quick on our feet. We had to dig deep in our pockets, and we had to figure out what next in a very uncertain world.
dedication is really key here when we're talking about innovation within this space during a crisis. And we have to stay true to your vision. And it is really hard when things are changing so drastically. So you have to have like this laser sharp focus as to who you are and what you want to be. And trust me, I think all of us were tested in a very special way last year, regardless of what brand you're representing. And so trying to stay clear to that vision is always a little bit difficult, especially when there's so much uncertainty. And grit, boy, let me tell you, our team, and I think all teams again, and I want to say this because I think everything that I'm saying really speaks to all of us in the industry, right? We had to show up with a certain level of tenacity and a certain level of grit. It is being innovative is not for the faint-hearted. If you're looking for an easy way out, you shouldn't be in the innovation pipeline and trying to get things to market. It's very challenging, but rewarding. We all had to adapt as a brand. We had great plans, and what the video you just saw was us celebrating our 5th anniversary in 2019. We had a fantastic run for our first 5 years, and we were looking at the next 5 years, and we spent a lot of time and invested a lot into ensuring that we had some solid plans to go to market in 2020. And of course, we all know what happened in 2020. So we had to adapt. And of course, with innovation comes risk, and all of us, here know that. It does not matter what industry you were in last year, there was a certain level of risk, and especially in the food and beverage industry, where we saw, because of curfew, because of the limitations with movement, a lot of businesses were affected. And for me, I think it's really important that we speak to that when we all got into whatever businesses we are in, it was very difficult for us to have envisioned what would have happened last year. None of us in our projections, I'm sure, in our plans thought that 2020 probably was going to be one of the years we would most likely want to forget the most. But it happened, and we had to figure out, how do we adapt and how do we mitigate the risk. On our end as a brand, when we speak about innovation, we had to decide in 2020, we had to ask ourselves the right questions, and a few really important questions. And it is, I think the number one question is, how did we want to be remembered post-pandemic? As a brand, as a company, how do you want to be remembered? And another very important part of the questions we asked ourselves was, how can we help our community? Because when persons are in need all around you, it is we believe, as part of our core values, it's important to show up, not only when times are good, but when times are bad as well. What do people need from our brand right now? And how is the team doing? People always first. Everyone on our team, whether it's, we call them our team, and, in other places, your staff, your employees, checking in and seeing how they're doing, because again, 2020 was a very challenging year. And in whether it be on the health side, or just the anxiety, the uncertainty. So as we go through this innovation pipeline and trying to figure out how do we adapt in 2020, or how did we adapt in 2020, these are some of the really important questions that we had to ask ourselves. And then we had to land on some very clear objectives. And this for me is, I think, something that every brand last year had to figure out and do it very quickly. We all had specific objectives coming out of 2019, but in 2020, I think we had to look back and we had to rewrite what it is that we had in our crystal ball as what we wanted to happen. So again, it comes back to being laser focused on what you want to do amidst phenomenal uncertainty. We decided going into our 6th year that we were going to launch our new look. And with that came a new chapter of how the entity was going to be experienced, and that was through Jamaica Food and Drink Company. So for us, what we wanted to do last year was remain top of mind, launch our new look and feel. And it was a big risk, because who wants to launch a new look and feel in the midst of a global pandemic? But we thought it was important, because the truth is that with all the chaos, I think we all wanted to be grounded by something. We wanted to see something happening. We wanted to feel a sense of, positivity and connect with a brand that we know and we love and see them being out there. I think for a lot of persons who came back to us said that, boy, we're really happy that you guys did something, because it kind of gave us a sense of normalcy. So although going into it, we weren't sure, we decided that we were going to push through. Innovation, and I think that's a really important part of I think all brands, like I mentioned, did last year. But for us, it was around innovation around memorable food experiences. And you look around and all of us make decisions based on what's trending, what's new, what's edgy. And you look around and you see that everyone is pretty much just trying to get by. So what do you do, and how do you innovate in that space? And that led us to really deciding we're going to market, we're pushing out this new look and feel. This is our new brand that you guys would have seen in the market. And so as a big part of our innovation was, taking the next step with our brand. And so most of you would have seen this brand and look and feel in the market last year with our Experience in a Box. Experience in a Box was one of, I think, the most innovative things that we did in the 6 years that we have been doing festival. And I say that because, we created a template and a model over 5 years of putting on this series of events for almost 20,000 people. We take over an entire week of events in October. It is multiple events, multiple locations. We had that template down. We knew exactly what we were doing and how we were doing it, going into our 6th year. And then, of course, all of that changed. And so we had to figure out what we were going to do, and why we were going to do it. And Experience in a Box came along because we wanted to give persons an opportunity to enjoy Jamaica Food and Drink Festival at home, in their safe space, in a well-curated, memorable food experience. And we partnered with some local chefs. We partnered with local purveyors. It also gave us an opportunity to promote our chefs who were also struggling and were also having a very difficult time. And for me and for the team, I think it was a real feel-good moment, because we saw persons, like I said, feel like the year had a little bit of normalcy again, even though they couldn't go to the big events and enjoy themselves and, feel that vibe. You bring the vibe at home, and that's what I think everybody did last year. Figure out a way to get your product to your consumer in a safe way, in their safe space. And for the most part, that was at home, right? So for us, last year, I think we changed the game, and the box experience became a thing, because after that we saw a lot more people getting into doing some type of curated box, and we're happy, because the more we do, the better it is for everybody. We're really happy that other persons got involved, and they decided that, hey, if this could work, if Food and Drink Festival can do this, then we can do it as well. And I am really, really proud and happy that one of our stakeholders and partners who came on board, including Tourism Enhancement Fund, to make this happen, because nobody knew if it would work. But again, you have to have gut, and you have to have grit, and you have to have grace, and you have to be very clear as to what your objectives are, and then take it to market. And this is the product that we went to market with. So what's happening with Food and Drink Festival? Food and Drink Festival is now owned under Jamaica Food and Drink Company. And going into our 6th year last year, we were taking this to market, and now it's in a complete rollout phase. So there's so much exciting stuff that you guys are going to see within the next couple of weeks and months. Jamaica Food and Drink Company pretty much is about thinking big and small, connecting and sharing, innovating and exciting, and of course, redefining local in the gastronomy industry. And so, we look forward to you sharing with us in the next couple of weeks some of our new products that are going to market, and that includes Jamaica Food and Drink Kitchen and Jamaica Food and Drink Market. And this is actually going to be fixed location, is somewhere that you can go into and experience the culinary arts in a very unique and special way. And so in the next couple of weeks, we look forward to rolling out and launching. And then by summer, all things, being equal, we're going to have an amazing space for you guys to enjoy food experiences with some of our top chefs. And I think it's going to redefine local and how we experience gastronomy. So as I leave you guys, I just want to say, for us and for everyone, in the food and beverage industry, we have to look at innovation as the ability to see change as an opportunity and not a threat. There is coming out of 2020 and even into 2021, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I want to ask you guys to stay tuned to JA Food and Drink, our Instagram page. We have launched something called Food Scene. And if you have anything new in the food and beverage industry happening in the market, we want to use our platform for the greater good of promoting SMEs and anyone that's doing anything. So send us a message and we'll feature you on Food Scene, and then stay tuned for the other products that are going to market. And of course, we have some fantastic things happening for Food and Drink Festival at the end of the year. And so, from our end and from our team, lastly, we just want to say to you guys, please stay safe. Unless we all get over this pandemic, unless we all sanitize, we all wear a mask, life as we know it, festivals as we know it, restaurants as we know it, is not really going to be a thing until much, much later in the year. So we are asking on the Jamaica Food and Drink Company side, we are pleading with everyone out there, please stay safe. It's the fastest and easiest way for us to get back to the new normal. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Nazma. We're very excited to see the pivot. That's been the word of 2020 to 2021. And we really are excited to see the 2 new products that will be coming on stream, and really, something very innovative as we are sitting here discussing innovation in gastronomy in Jamaica. So now we're going to move over to Kimberly Dunkley, who is going to take us through her international perspective and give us a few tokens of where she sees innovation in gastronomy going for Jamaica.
Thank you, Nicola, and thank you so much, Monique and Nazma, for those presentations. Both 2 big, companies in Jamaica that I look up to and think have done really great things innovatively. I just kind of wanted to talk about a future perspective. When I was asked to be a part of this forum, and in speaking with Nicola, I said to her, I'm actually looking forward to talking about what we can do in the future, and less about, the COVID fatigue that we're all, going through right now. It's been interesting to see the perspectives from 2020 and going into this year, as well as what people are looking forward to in 2022. I do have strong tourism background, but I've also luckily been able to span between culinary projects such as Food and Drink or Jamaica Coffee Festival, or notably the Food Network South Beach Wine and Food Festival in Miami. And it's kind of warming to see that we're going to be moving towards a trend of figuring out how to experience these things in a safe way, in a different way, but a safe way. I'm fortunate to be able to be asked to do the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, which is happening in May. And it's going to be a learning lesson and a learning curve for me as well, something that I'm kind of excited to see roll out, because while in Jamaica, we are kind of experiencing what the US experienced last year, this time in the second wave, I think that they've been able to see a little bit of a glimmer of hope with obviously the vaccine in place right now and other protocols in place. So over the next month or so, I'll be going through WHO training to kind of figure out how to properly do an event, COVID style and in a safe way. It's scary, but challenging, and challenging is good because we can only grow out of this experience. And I'm hoping to be able to take some of those learnings back to Jamaica to see how best we can, evolve our event industry and help out those people who are in events and in the culinary world right now who have been suffering tremendously from the COVID hit. On the social side of things, as far as weddings are concerned or social events are concerned, What I've seen a huge shift in is, of course, yes, the curated box experiences where people can get ingredients from their local chefs that they admire, or even their drink purveyors with cocktail recipes that they can make cocktails at home and really experience what it is to have a restaurant setting at home. But I think we'll never get past the need for the human interaction and the human side of it. The process of breaking bread in a home, whether it be your grandmother, your mother, your father, your uncle, is something that is innately human. And I think as we think towards innovation, we have to think about that interaction and specifically how to recreate those interactions in a safe way at home. I think the reason why the pandemic has been so difficult to manage, separate and aside from the medical aspect of things, is that we naturally as human beings want to congregate. We want to gather. We want to be amongst each other. Our fondest memories are made usually in the kitchen, whether we're making a cup of tea or cup of coffee in the morning, or we're having lunch or dinner with friends. The trends now have been to have at-home cooking sessions with chefs, guided sessions. What was awesome to participate in last year was a virtual session with the New York City Wine and Food Festival. And it allowed for connectivity in a different way. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she was able to cook along with Rachel Ray. And normally, under normal circumstances, she would have never been able to have that one-on-one interaction with her. So to have been able to get that has been great. And I think that technology has helped us to connect in a deeper way, because we're able to connect with people that we wouldn't have normally been able to touch and necessarily see unless we got on a plane. So I'm not negating the use of the technology and the ability to be able to do these things via Zoom, have these forums and have all of us together in a space. But I do want us to look forward to how we can, in a different way, in more intimate spaces, come, the latter part of 2021 into 2022. Weddings are still a thing. People are still getting married. Love is not canceled. So I find that now, in terms of even trends with those social gatherings, people are paying a lot more attention to detail. It's less about having a lot of pageantry and a lot of people, and more about what experience can I curate for my guests? How can I make this experience a memorable one, because it's so few and far between now. I think that people are valuing those experiences a little bit more, paying a little bit more attention to things like what guests would like to eat when they arrive to the island, not just even when they come to their wedding or when they come to their birthday dinner. It's become a full circle experience. So a lot of the conversations that I've been having with a lot of clients now is, how can we elevate the experience for everyone? How can we incorporate a lot more local fare, of course? I think we've somewhat undervalued our contribution to gastronomy from a Jamaican food perspective. Our local food is so amazing. We have so many visitors who come to the island who look forward to picking a mango off of a tree, something that we take for granted every day because we do it every day. The ability to go into gardens and do farm-to-table lunches like a stush in the bush, but with indigenous ingredients, things that we have that are so uniquely Jamaican. That are so ingrained in our culture. So I think that overall the experiences are going to become a lot more intimate, a lot more curated. That's the buzzword. And I think that people are willing now to actually spend a little bit more on the overall experience and not just the one and done. When you look at the weekends that take place in, for example, New York or in Miami or Aspen or any of the other destination food locations, it's always about the weekend. It's never about a singular moment or a singular event. So as we think towards innovation, and as our local chefs, restaurateurs, purveyors think towards how we can make the experiences different, how we can elevate them, I think now we've been given the opportunity to research a little bit, to reach out to community. As Nazma had mentioned earlier as well, we've always been talking about community over competition. This has kind of leveled the playing field for everyone. And I think it's a time to kind of reach out to each other and say, okay, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Other fellow chefs can pick up the phone and talk to each other about their processes, how they do their prep, how they do their pop-ups. A lot of collaborations you'll see here with a lot of the younger chefs, which have been great, is to see the pop-ups of multiple chefs in one location. And I think that has definitely elevated the consumer experience and the ability for them to experience so much more in a singular space than ever before. So as we look forward to, I would say, the latter part of 2021, hopefully, and definitely 2022, even in going into 2023, don't be afraid to challenge yourself to think that far and to say to yourself, how can I push the envelope? Who can I reach out to? There are platforms now, like Clubhouse, for example, where you can, get online and talk to people that you would have never connected with before. So use the opportunity now and use the technology now to reach out to those people, to gather information, to increase your knowledge base, and to also hone in and improve the skills that you have while we all kind of bear through the nuances of the pandemic. But know that people are going to be starved for social interaction. So get ready. I just recently read an article in the New York Times about the wedding boom, and it's coming. It's definitely coming. I think people are now more than ever focused on celebrating their moments and are going to pay more attention to detail when it comes to where they go and how they spend their money and make sure that their time is worth it. So get ready for that boom to come.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Really appreciate that information. And yes, curation is going to be the order of the day, looking at different ways to really execute as we go forward. And I think as we get to the end of this presentation, as we always kind of jump in and give some more thoughts and ideas, but we're going to have the gentleman on the call go next. And last but not least, we have Brian Lumley, who is going to speak to his experience and share some ideas with us. And then we will go to Q&A and an open panel discussion so we can get some more ideas and thoughts out there. Brian, over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nicola. Hi, everybody. I feel such a privilege being in the company of so many beautiful ladies and accomplished ladies. I've never met Quick Plate before, but I've heard a lot of good things. And of course, Nazma Chin, that name resonates in the culinary fraternity for the last couple of years. So, I mean, there's no big introduction needed there. And of course, Kimberly, we go back, I don't know how many years. You can show both of our ages. It's not necessary at this moment. But it's definitely, of course, to be reckoned. I mean, Kimmy, what I know of, is such a detailed individual. I mean, she puts the meaning in crossing T's and dotting I's. So it's really, really wonderful being here with everyone today. So I was asked to talk about this topic on innovation and my experience. And coming back to Kingston, what an experience it was. I mean, I came back to Kingston in the middle of a pandemic. And I would say in the peak of that pandemic, because I got back to Kingston in July, most people the public would probably know about that around August, September. And I was tasked with the responsibility to start a new restaurant in the middle of a pandemic at a hotel that no one knows. So, I mean, the challenges were on the wall, but it was a little bit different. I realized I'm wearing a t-shirt, and that's purely by accident. And I'm looking at the screen, I was like, oh, a t-shirt says different. My mind works differently, programmed differently. I don't see challenge. I don't see problems. I always tell my staff when they come to me and say, Chef, we have a problem. I say, nope, we have a challenge. Now let's work on the solution. We don't have a problem. There's never a problem in my life or my path, right? And I saw the pandemic as a challenge. And I saw, just like Kimmy reiterated, there will be a wedding boom. People are really starved for interaction, right? They sit at home, they work from home, the ones fortunately who can work from home. The bit of interaction you get is maybe in the supermarket or some whose church is lucky enough to be open still. So you can see it. People never stop wanting to celebrate their birthdays, their weddings, special anniversaries. There's so much demand for it now that it's even escalated because people are starved from it. So for me, and what I try to bring about is in this innovative mindset is to now see how can I repackage the product to meet the demand, because the demand never stops, right? And you will see a lot of businesses like even QuickPlate that come up, Seven Crave, Hugo, say Brand Solutions, coming up with different technologies that can add a website to your existing. So you have some of these apps like QuickPlate and Hugo and so on, they're marketplaces for other companies. Brand Solutions will create a website, a button on your website that people, if you have a strong following, can go to your website and order directly to your websites. That's one avenue. QuickPlate has a huge following. So that's another avenue you can sell the goods. So no one is saying, you need to choose one or the other. Jamaica is a very diverse place, right? The Brand Solutions only deals with Kingston, as I hear QuickPlate talking about expanding to Montego Bay. So there's those kinds of innovation are really exciting. For me, when I started the restaurant within the pandemic, we dining restaurants have a lot of protocols to follow, right? There's gone are the days when you go and touch a menu again. Yeah, the only paper you'll touch is at home and your books. You cannot come into the restaurant and touch a menu. And while some people may think that's a no-brainer, there are elderly people that you tell them a QR code and they look at you strange, like, child, what are you talking about? What is a QR what? You know what I mean? And they look at you like, where's the menu? And we're like, just open your phone screen. And they're like, I don't want to see that. It's too fine. And it's just a nostalgic thing, maybe, because a lot of them just want a physical menu. They're saying, can't you just set a menu on the table? We don't have to touch it. And I'm like, no, because you're still going to touch it. And there will be a risk that somebody else might contaminate it or you might contaminate it and you forget to touch your face because you remove your mask while you're eating. So in our protocols, we want to remove as much risk as possible. So one of those solutions were a flurry of technological advances. There's XDine, there is MasterTag. One of my favorite ones is Visio Eats right now. And Visio Eats is like a multimedia dining experience. So if you look at my background and you see that crunchy calamari just staring you in the face, I'm sorry guys, I know it's lunchtime. But it's part of the process. Visio Eats bring this to life. So one of the really cool features it has is if you go and skip through the menu, you will see like something sauteing or something flambeing. So you click that pasta and that pasta comes alive. So you see the sauces and the viscosity of the sauce and the Parmesan cheese added on top of it. And it starts to do something to your palate, like you're salivating for the dish. These kinds of experiences is what we want customers to get a new way to explore food. Because many Jamaicans, they like to see a big menu, but really and truly, they always pick the 3 or 4 same things that they order, right? Because they're afraid to buy it and then be disappointed that it's not as good as what they thought it would be. But if you can view a menu that is interactive and that speaks back to you, maybe you feel for something crunchy and didn't know it was crunchy. Maybe you feel for something cheesy and didn't know it was cheesy. When you see these different elements of the dish, you know that specifically it is for you, right? So that's one of the innovations that I see coming up and will not go away even after the pandemic has subsided. We have been blessed to get some good patronage from Kingston and the wider parishes. But right now with the curfew hitting again, it really threw a curveball to us, and we have to now pivot again. That's definitely the word of this. I won't even say 2020. It's probably going to be the word of the decade, because I've pivoted maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months since we've been open and running. So we pivot again, and it's something to focus. Now we're focusing on our breakfast and lunch menu because our dinner menu is doing pretty well. And we realize that there's a demand for lunch. However, it's at a lower price range, and it's usually very quick, especially breakfast. Breakfast and lunch, they're quick turnover meal times. not a lot of people have the time to wait and so on, but they still have to eat. That's a beautiful thing about this industry. No matter who you are, what age or what demographic, you're human beings, at least try to eat 2 meals per day. And, you know, whether you want to turn it off, you know, you can't. This hunger is going to come back. So the demand is definitely there. We are just trying to innovate in such a way to meet that demand. And I've seen a lot of people do that very nicely. I see across the road from us, you have Chillin that's making a comeback. And you realize that a lot of the restaurants that pivot, or a lot of people that pivot and come back, is those who have really strong brands, right? Because the consumers trust that brand. So when they take a risk and a chance to come back out, they will get the support because they are known for their consistency. They're known for that vibe. As soon as you hear the brand, you know that, okay, I feel safe with this. So, I mean, AC is doing well. I've seen them pivot and I've seen them come back around and you know, offer different products apart from their restaurant. I see Trio Wine Bar. That's a really cool place where Chilitos used to be. My friend Carlos, he really regutted the place and put out another product again. And these spaces have outdoor dining. So a lot of the ones that with AC inside and so on are really limited because the virus can spread that way. The outdoor dining, a lot of people feel a lot safer. Here at District 5, at our hotel, it's all outdoor, right? We have one tiny section that's a private dining room that you can have a special birthday celebration with your family or so on away from. A majority of the restaurant is outdoor. So a lot of people feel safe. We practice our 6 feet social distancing. There's a lot of protocols when you walk into the hotel. There's sanitation stations all over the hotel from your enter, going up to the elevator, out of the elevator, on the other side of the entrance to the restaurant. It's everywhere. So we have to practice those different protocols. And I honestly don't see it going away. I don't want to hope for, you know, by the end of the year, you know, this is going to take place. It's very hard to predict. What I would encourage my associates to start thinking is that this is the new normal. This is where we're going into. Because after COVID-19, something else can pop up, you know what I mean? And we have to get into our frame of mind that, all right, with all these innovations coming to play, is going to change the dynamic of how we operate, right? And it's not a sad story. I love what Nazma said in her presentation about innovation and the opportunity for change. It's not a threat, you know what I mean? It's an opportunity to see how we can make things better, how we can do things better. Jamaica Food and Wine Festival is a huge brand, huge. I'm sure people right now miss it profusely, right? It can now pivot. Maybe you'll have a Jamaica Food and Wine Festival on a smaller scale every month. You know what I mean? Like in different locations instead of one big one for the year. I don't know. You know, they may be thinking about this. We don't know, but it's going to force it to innovate in such a way where it may turn out even better. You know what I mean? It may turn out like, oh, this is pretty cool. And when everything is back to quote unquote normal, you're not going to change because you've already experienced like, why didn't I think of this before? But because you have the time now, COVID just slowed down everything right down. You know, can breathe and see these different opportunities and see how best to utilize them. So I'm even though it's a pandemic, I'm really excited for the gastronomy scene in Jamaica. I think it is ripe with possibilities. And I think we're now just taking the time to really iron out all the different avenues and build the foundation. So when things start to open up, we have a solid foundation. And we know exactly the right path that we're going. So I'm super excited about it. That's it.
Thank you very much, Brian. And so are we. I think we're all very excited on this webinar to really see where Jamaican gastronomy will continue to grow as we pivot. So we're going to open up for a few questions, but I just want to ask you guys as a general discussion, because of quarantine, a lot of people have been at home, and yes, delivery service comes right to the home, but we've also seen a lot more home cooking and persons taking up that as something to do. How do you see Jamaican gastronomy involved with the home cooking and maybe some new recipes or methodologies coming out of that? Then what I want to share what maybe you have been doing at home or anything that you might have heard persons are doing. I know there's been a lot of online cooking sessions, you know, Wayne and Tammy, this and that. So how do you see that continue to grow? Anyone can jump in.
I think from the perspective of we're in a unique position in Jamaica, like most other Caribbean islands, where we do have traditionally what I would call domestic help, right? In the States, that's not a norm. So what I think invariably what's going to start to happen more is that people are going to experiment a little bit more at home. I think that so far, based on the interactions I have had, a lot of it has been geared towards getting the chefs who they would normally interact with at events or at restaurants like O'Brien and saying, hey, are you available to come to my house to do a cooking class? I've had a lot more demand for that on a private level, on a smaller level, that, you know, instead of going out for dinner, they're staying in, but they want to elevate the experience that they have at home. So I definitely see that evolving a little bit more, and the ability to go to places, you know, like the commissary or get deliveries from other purveyors like a Stush in the Bush or even, you know, Walker's Wood and those other companies who have spices and other unique marmalades and marinades. A lot more people have been experimenting with that and speaking to the chefs directly, since the chefs aren't as busy in their regular brick and mortars. I think that will kind of continue to happen as well.
Yes, we definitely have been seeing that. Yes, Nazma.
So you know, it's so interesting, Kimmy, that you said that, because I will say, though, you know, in the first couple of months when we were on very serious lockdown and there was, you know, limitations of movements and stuff, boy, everyone in my house was excited about cooking. We were cooking Thai food. We were doing, I mean, you know, everything is coming to the house. And as some of you may know, I also have a partner in Saleh Eat Restaurant as well. So, you know, I would be like, okay, chef, let me know, how do I make this at home? You know, how can I tweak this? How can I? And it's so funny. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, it came a point probably 3 months into it, I got tired of my own food. Like, I was like, so over this. Like, I was like, okay, I really want that interaction. And to both of your points, actually, Chef and Kimmy, is that, you know, yes, I think we're going to see a lot more people experimenting at home and trying new things and everything else. But it is a really far second place to be having that human connection in a restaurant or in a space, you know, and experiencing. And so for me, what I found us doing a little bit more is, you know, we may not be cooking every day all the time, but I've found things that I'm really interested in that are hard to find, that I would say, you know, try my hand with here. And, you know, Kimmy mentioned Walker's Wood, and Sean and I were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and they have had record business sales with, say, their jerk season, right, in the States. And what was really important, and I think it was true to the fact that people miss the warmth of the islands. They couldn't travel. And if they could make their jerk chicken at home and use their sauces at home in very unique ways, and let's just not leave jerk and put jerk and chicken together. There's so many ways that you can use jerk seasonings and, you know, local seasonings that are bottled and available in the US. That in that moment when they're having their meal, they think of Jamaica. They think of that time they visited the sea, the sand, the salt, the people, the vibe. And so I think well beyond just, you know, how we were able to innovate at home or probably add new processes and stuff like that, I think for a bigger group of persons outside of Jamaica, you know, Brand Jamaica was able to exist through food. And I think that's really important.
And to add to that, I mean, the Jamaica Tourist Board did a lot of activations that included online cooking. They had a whole series We also did that last year through the Gastronomy Network, where we had some online series, Taste Jamaica at home. So I think that whole element of pushing the ability for you to cook at home definitely helped from a brand perspective, but also help to sell the spices, sauces, condiments. And that's a part of our industry. That's a part of gastronomy. It's not just eating the food or cooking the food, but it's everything else, that the backward linkages. As you know, we're part of the Tourism Linkages Network. So that backward linkages into manufacturing was also critical. And we saw a lot of that. I also been seeing a lot online, go back to the curated boxes, where there are a lot of international Jamaican curated boxes that have popped up, where people can order their box in the international marketplace and get Jamaican products and, cook from home or enjoy Jamaican products. So that is definitely something we've seen. Do we think curbside will continue? I mean, for example, last year, and we're continuing this year for our group of hotels, we did curbside pickup for Mother's Day and for Father's Day. Usually something that people would normally sit as a family and, 15, 20 of you. But because of the social distancing, we found that was where we saw a lot of sales in that curbside pickup, people buying for dishes for 4 or 5 family members and friends. How do you see that growing, or you think that will continue going into the future?
I think that's a great question for Monique, because she's so in tune to that market. I mean, personally, going back to what Nazma said, I personally prefer to go out and eat, even more so than cook at home. I love to eat. I'm not so much enthralled about cooking all the time, but if it's kind of like a necessity that's there that you can't avoid. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what companies like A Quick Plate are great at, is that you do have that kind of ability to get that at your fingertips without necessarily having to worry about driving in the car yourself. In my home, my family, we look forward to going to pick up food, because that's kind of how we venture out. So we may order the food, but we're going to pick it up because it's like a road trip. But I don't know if Monique has any more insights in terms of like consumer feedback and,
Yeah. Monique, is it going to be a hybrid? How do you see it working?
For sure. The experience of going out to eat is not going anywhere. As in a post-COVID world, that is going to come back. And if you are a social butterfly type, you like going out, that's going to be one of the ways you get out and socialize. But I think the shift towards delivery and in some cases curbside pickup is not going to go anywhere, in the sense of people who weren't utilizing those kinds of services before and have started since the COVID-19 crisis are unlikely to drop it completely. Because now that you've been exposed to the convenience of staying at your yard and getting whatever you like delivered directly to your doorstep, not going back. So who started are going to continue to use it. But of course, there's always going to be the experience factor when it comes to dining out. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere once we're allowed to, or once we're able to start doing that again.
Well, I think, as you said, we'll have that hybrid. What would be important is for restaurants or anybody who is providing that service to make that delivery portion continue to be unique and innovative. It may be the type of containers you use, how the food is presented. It may be an interactive meal where you have a hybrid of some of it is fully prepared, but you have a last finishing part that you have to do. So I think that's where some of the innovation may come in, to keep it fresh, keep it new. And of course, some people don't want any of that. They just want it to come fully complete and finish and be ready to eat. So I think we will see maybe a spectrum along a continuum of change, where we'll have what we've been accustomed to, which is your restaurant dining out experience, but you'll go the full gamut with variations along the spectrum. Brian, what do you think about that? How do you see that happening?
I'm listening to the 2 points just now. Curbside I agree with Kim. I enjoy, even though I'm a chef and I cook at home. I it's tough to say. If I have time, I enjoy cooking at home. When I'm limited with time, I don't enjoy cooking at home. I enjoy doing other things with that time because I've been cooking for 14 hours and I'm in a kitchen 14 hours a day. The stove is not the next thing I want to see. But if, let's say I go away to a Portland villa or a Nick Grill or somewhere, I would enjoy a fresh catch and I'll cook it or make a ceviche or something. But I say that to say, even though I'm at work, for example, I get tired of my own food. So thank God for these quick plates and Set and Crave and these different bikers, because it's so easy now to just say, oh, I want a lunch from M10, but I really can't bother to drive, go down to that town. You know what I mean? It's just through an app, and by the time I'm coming out of a meeting, my days can get very hectic. And my lunch is there. Now you think that's pretty odd because, but there's some dishes I just don't do. I don't do fried chicken at District 5. And sometimes I miss it. I don't do stew peas. I'll cook stew peas myself. Again, when I have time, I don't have time. And because there's so much changes, there's so much, the curfew is this, the government changes that, there's Easter coming up. So there's so many planning and different things happening. You really don't get the time in these critical moments to plan ahead and plan for food. So, I'm not going to go out and buy oxtails because I said it, and it's really good. The corridor is really good. The oxtail cannelloni is really good, but I'm not going to eat those every day. You know what I mean? So I get tired of the food. So the curbside pickup, yeah, it's a bit kind of, not very conducive to time, right? I think Monique's business, you'll see much more of that. DoorDash, these different marketplaces. They are the ones that's really going to develop. And as you say, the cons with them though, is that by the time you package something nicely, it's all pulled up when it's gone over to Reddit and so on. So for me personally, when I'm curating a menu for delivery, there are certain things I have to have on that. There are certain things I can't have on it, right? So I'm in the process of doing a gourmet box where if somebody wants to have an anniversary and let's say a significant other is diagnosed with something that they can't mix, or they have a parent living with them, so they don't want to risk going out, and so they're fine, but their parents isn't. I want to do like a lamb box, a gourmet thing that it's already seared, brushed with mustard, put on the breadcrumbs, butter is on it, baby potatoes are there, veggies there. All you have to do is pop it in the oven and finish it.
Yeah, so the restaurant meal kits, as we said, is something that we're seeing more and more happening. But if there's nothing else, what this panel had just showed me is that there's a fit for everyone, because Kimmy wants to do the curbside pickup to get a chance to leave the house and drive out. Brian is all set for delivery to come to him. He doesn't have the time for it. Now, so I still, halfway hybrid. I still will cook if something excites me. So there's a fit for everyone. And I think that's really what we're seeing in terms of the innovation, and persons are finding these different niches within the gastronomy landscape and finding those suppliers who can fit what I am looking for today. Because, it varies. Today I may want this, tomorrow I may want something else. And that's really showcasing how much there's been such a transformation across the space in terms of being able to answer the call that different persons have, depending, because you do have a lot of persons who are still working from home. You have all these students who are at home, no school. I know, for example, my niece, I think the Domino's delivery guy knows her personally now because she orders from him so often. So you do have all these different niches that are existing, and persons are finding their comfort zone and finding new food outlets that they never knew existed before because of platforms such as QuickPlate. So let me ask another question. If you were to say for 2021, if you were to recommend to our audience online in terms of what would be an innovation that you think would be a good fit for someone to start looking at? Maybe just trying to start a business, or you've started a small food business and you're looking to expand. With our panel of experts here and where the trend is going, what would be your one recommendation as something to focus on going forward? Let me start with you, Nazma.
So I'm really happy that you went there, because there are a lot of young persons and also older persons who are looking for opportunities, right? And something that has been near and dear to our hearts at Jamaica Food and Drink Festival, and of course from, you know, our founding company, CB Foods, and I think it's important that we speak about it here, is food security. You know, there is a big opportunity for us in Jamaica to eat what we grow. And what I found is and maybe Brian, you know, can chime in here as well, that I found that there's a lot of things that we want. I mean, in years gone by, you know, you want to try a recipe and you can't find this, so you can't find that, you can't find the radish, you can't find the special, you know, Chinese chives. And now I find so many people are getting into agriculture, right, as a business, and they're admiring it as a profession. And I see that there's great opportunity there and I would encourage anyone to get into it, anywhere on the agro-processing line. I mean, there are other aspects of it as well. We're seeing goat cheese and goat yogurt and vegan cheese and all of these things that we never really had in Jamaica before. But I really do believe that for us coming out of the pandemic, food security is a big deal. And being on the festival side and on the restaurant side, I can see that if we can really focus and have more persons get involved and get into the agriculture industry, I think it can be a phenomenal opportunity for us to be more resilient, one, but also to have a wider group of persons employable. So for me, I think that's a big industry that has a lot of potential.
I'd love to get my experience on that, and thank you so much for mentioning that. One of my primary responsibilities, and I gave myself this when I got back to Kingston, was to visit a farmer's market every week. And I've done so every Saturday for the last 6 months. I've now gotten to know all the vendors. I go to Ojima Farmers Market near to Sovereign North every Saturday. The only Saturday I'm not there is if I'm out of town. And what Nicole is one of the organizers of the farm, and she told me that food security since the pandemic has been a big issue because they were having a hard time getting the seeds into the country. Not because of certain restrictions, but because since the pandemic happened, USA is holding on to their seeds because of the same scare for them, food security. Like they don't want to give it away. So because they've had certain great relationship with people over the years, when they locked the borders and that, they were still able to get the seeds, but now it's a big concern. So what they're doing is trying to develop the seeds here or just replant certain things that we have. So that's why you see purple sweet potato, very different varieties of cherry tomatoes, different varieties of lettuces is really awesome stuff. Like there are farmers in Blue Mountain and different things. So I definitely echo that message that Nazma just stated, that get into agriculture, but you don't have to get into agriculture and grow cabbage and pak choy that everybody else is growing. There's so many different things that chefs like me and foodies like Kim and Nazma and Monique is a foodie, that they're really looking forward to what they can't get. It's just like you get it the everyday thing. My perception or my contribution to this question would be packaging. I do green juices on the side, and it's a struggle for me to consistently get bottles. I have to get my bottles, some of them from overseas. I want to do certain special curated takeout stuff, and I can't get specific containers. I have to go to Amazon. I have to go to, and I'm saying this to say, young people,
opportunity.
It's savvy. You can buy it in bulk and sell it back here. You know what I mean? You just have to get in and say, hey, I have this. What are you interested in? Can I meet this price? Because I have to take it now to resell it. there's so many opportunities that can come out of this. I will tell you, my contribution would be packaging. And I'd echo Nazma's point, agriculture. It is a huge, huge opportunity.
Excellent. Kimberly, Monique, who wants to go first? Same question.
I think, I'm not on mute anymore, okay. Definitely agriculture is a major facet. I actually have family in agriculture, so that's kind of been ingrained from the very beginning about food security. And in talking to my overseas colleagues, I see it. It's a real threat to us. And I think that's something that we definitely need to honor more here. And I see a lot more young people getting into farming. I think a huge missed opportunity, and it's something that I've kind of delved in a little bit, and Brian most certainly did that when he first started out cooking, is education of food for children. Being a mother now of children and seeing the world through their eyes, it starts from their age. My love affair with food didn't really start, getting into motion until I went to university. I always used to love to eat, I've heard, but the understanding of food and where food comes from, and just simple things like how does a carrot grow, simple things like where do your onions come from, how do you season your food. Those are conversations that really need to be had, and they need to be had at a very young age, from the early childhood commission age. I've been seeing some schools doing pop-up gardens now, which is nice, and doing more rooftop garden style. That's something I've been used to seeing living in the States, especially in urban areas like New York. On the rooftops of New York, they would have pop-up gardens there. But I think it's a huge missed opportunity for us in Jamaica. And it's something that we really need to start from the ground level up if we're going to continue to have a sustainable food business, because it's not just about cooking in the kitchen or having an event, but without the food, the actual food, we can't get there. And the interest level in it as well. I think a lot of things that have evolved over the course of the past 5 years or even 10 years that I've been back in Jamaica, I've noticed that with the influx of people like me who have lived away that are coming back and kind of bringing what they've learned from their travels has definitely helped to elevate the scene and get people more in tune to what is happening and the seasonings and stuff like that. But if we start it with our kids and give our children the opportunity to see farms, let the field trips be at the farms. The field trips don't need to necessarily be to the park or to the zoo. Let them be at the farms, let them touch the soil. We have a little garden here. So, from time to time, I'll get the seeds and we'll plant them with my kids and kind of see how they grow. And it's fascinating to see what they see and how they interpret it. And once they see it grow, well, will they actually consume it on the plate? Because that's a whole lot of discussion to have. It's green, I don't want to eat it. But
Kimmy, actually, that's an excellent point, because, with the Gastronomy Network, part of what we have always been focusing on, pushing, is making Jamaican cuisine sexy and making it more acceptable. We are always so outward looking in Jamaica. We want to eat every international dish, and we focus on that, and we don't quite appreciate our local cuisine the way foreigners appreciate it and think it's just the most wonderful, fantastic thing. They constantly tell us, the taste of the food, the fact that it's so fresh. Our seafood, it's literally within 10 minutes, you can have the most fresh seafood on your plate, in your stomach. So going to that and making, not only just a farm to table experience in terms of eating at a nice dinner with, farm fresh food, but actually experiencing how food is grown, understanding the concept behind it, appreciating the work that goes into it, the type of soil that you need to use, the water cycle, everything else, which is what makes Jamaican food unique. I mean, Jamaican Blue Mountain Coffee, which we have our coffee festival coming up this weekend, is known for its reputation. Is not just because it's good coffee, but it has everything to do with the soil and the climate and everything around it that makes it special and unique, and brings out that aroma and flavor. And it's the same thing with any other item that's grown in Jamaica. We have unique soil, we have unique climate conditions, we have ways of doing things, methods of cooking that lends itself to a very distinct cuisine. So yes, 100% agree with you on that one, Kimmy. Monique, you want to close with any comments on this particular question?
Well, I agree with everything everyone has said so far, and I mean, as it relates to opportunities for people looking for them within the gastronomy space, I'd say probably go off on a bit of a tangent and take it from a different angle and look to supplying the people who are in the space versus necessarily getting into the space itself. What I still see a bit of a gap as it relates to, for example, supplying eco-friendly, spill-proof, delivery-friendly containers, supplying the kind of insulated bags that delivery companies like ourselves would need to be able to operate efficiently. So, just wanted to point out that that's also another angle that somebody who's looking for an opportunity in this space could discern if they're worth filling.
Excellent. So we have a question from social. How can local culinary practitioners support the gastronomy network, and how can we get more information? Well, let me start by saying we do have a tastejamaica.com website. So you can definitely go to the website and get more information on what we're doing there, as well as the Tourism Enhancement Fund website. You can also follow us on social. So it's at TEF Jamaica. And there you can also contact the office directly, which is at the Tourism Enhancement Fund. You can email or call us, and we can give you more information on how to participate and how to keep in contact with us. So that is definitely part of it. But probably the most important thing we want culinary practitioners and persons who are in the space is to share. So as Nazma had pointed out, they have a nice platform that they're sharing information on. And similarly, we do at the Gastronomy Network. We want to be able to share what you are doing in the space and to let persons be aware of some of the very unique things that are happening out there. Every now and again, I'm on Instagram and I scroll over something and I'm like, wow, that's new, and we want to celebrate some of these, new innovative ideas that are coming up and very grassroots level. And that's a part of the mandate of our network, is to inspire persons across the length and breadth of Jamaica to get involved in gastronomy at all levels, whether you're going to be the chef, whether you want to open a restaurant, you want to own a restaurant, create a destination restaurant, you want to supply the industry, you want to be in agriculture, so you're going to be at the back end of making sure these fantastic ingredients come onto the plate. Whether you're in design, decor, that's all a part of the experience. So we definitely are seeking to reach out to you and to connect with you. Any comments from any of the panelists on suggestions for culinary practitioners to support the network?
Well, I'll just reiterate what you said, that Food Scene, which is a space on our Instagram and social media pages for Food and Drink Festival. It's a JA Food and Drink. I mean, we created it with the sole purpose as it being a platform to promote innovation during this pandemic period. And, of course, we thought it would have been a year. We're going into our second year. So whatever you're doing in this space, do not be the best kept secret. And that is, like you said, if you have to scroll too much to find somebody, that means you're not getting out there enough. And there is an expense to marketing, but if you have these opportunities to be on all these platforms for free, please do it. I'd encourage anybody in the SME food and beverage industry to use as many platforms as you can, go through as many angles as you can. And we'll be happy to feature you. So, like I said, just hit us up. We are very interested as well on the back end in not only persons who are creating a product, but if you have a service, or if you are a blogger, or, anything to do on the food and beverage scene, we'd be interested. So I'm looking forward to being swamped with messages when we finish this.
And we'll be providing this video from this presentation. We'll go on our platform, so you can share it with family or friends who may have missed the presentation. But also to let you know, we have coming up next in our series actually a whole program that will be dedicated to digital marketing and social media, and that will be coming out soon, where SMEs can sign up to participate, and just look out for that information. And that's going to be a certification course that we'll be offering. Again, because being in the digital space is very critical to ensuring that Jamaican gastronomy continues to grow and have its place. And as Najma said, not to be the best kept secret. So let us move on to one other question.
Quick thing, Nicola,
yes, sure.
you were asking about how to support other businesses.
Yes, please. Okay.
I think that just from, speaking with other chefs or, restaurants, small caterers, the biggest thing you can do, it doesn't take anything out of you to refer somebody. So if you have experience, if you've had a good experience, if you have visited somewhere or have bought something from a local baker or somebody who's just trying out, like I remember getting WhatsApp messages from Nazma about her daughter's lasagna and artichoke dip, like those are things that are quick and easy. And chefs are busy being in the kitchen. They don't particularly necessarily have time to be doing social media, running their business, putting stuff on Facebook, and curating their websites. So if you are a local consumer who is consuming goods and services that you would like, that you have liked, or you've liked the experience, it takes nothing for you to really post on your stories, post on Facebook, send it to a friend, because that's the greatest referral that we can have, is that word of mouth.
Definitely. So how do we see events going forward? I mean, we talked about Jamaica Food and Drink Festival, and earlier I put up a slide that said, will the events be virtual, a hybrid, or more? I know we would love to get back to everything in person and the huge events that we used to have, but how do we see us being able to, create unique platforms for events? And if you just want to share a little bit more on your thoughts in that space. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Go, Brian.
So how do I see it going forward? It's definitely going to be smaller. But with smaller comes it being more frequent and it being more personal. And I don't know, I can speak from myself personally. You'll never see me over the years at a huge event outside of a few, because I have to be there. I think I've ever gone to the stadium to watch a Reggae Boys match maybe once or twice. Like, I just don't like crowd. I don't like this huge arena of people. That's just a personal preference. So COVID for me, I would say I would thrive in COVID, because you would get these experiences that are smaller. It's not a fear or anything. It's just a preference. I just always think if something is going to happen, I don't like to form a queue to get outside. I just want to leave. But that's just me, right? So I see a lot of different ideas now that could be executed in such a way where it's more personalized and frequent. So you have to do groups of them in order to make it. So it's more like a series now instead of like a calendar event. You know what I mean? So that's where I see it going, or probably I'm hoping that's where it's going. I don't know.
Nazma, you have any comments?
So, of course, as you can imagine, we are back where we were last year, March, when we were planning for Food and Drink Festival in October 2020. We are now planning. We normally start almost a year ahead, as you know. The wheels actually don't stop turning because the festival had grown to be so big. And when we looked at what we did last year, and now that we're planning for this year, of course, Experience in a Box was great and novel. And just to touch back onto the innovation side is that, of course, now everyone is doing some kind of experience in a box. So is the novelty still there? How do we now add more value? How do we enhance the consumer experience, And so what I think is that, and in agreeing with Brian, is that I think we're going to see persons wanting memorable experiences. And I also believe that we're going to have to meet consumers halfway. And micro is also a word coming out of 2020 that many of us didn't use a lot before. But that being said, I do believe that we have to keep in consideration the safety of our patrons and of our country. And so for us as we plan, we do believe there is a serious responsibility on our shoulders, whether we own restaurants or it's in events, or, that we ensure the safety of the persons who are in our space. And as we plan for this year's experience for Food and Drink Festival, it actually is very similar to what Brian was mentioning. And so I'm happy that we are all kind of on the same bandwagon, that we are going to have smaller, we are going to have more frequent, and we are going to have highly curated. But also, I think it gives us an opportunity to expand who we're speaking to when we speak that language. And so to Kimmy's point, yes, a lot of events have been adult styled events for obvious reasons, they're nighttime and that kind of thing. That's what our product is. But we're also looking at kids. We're also looking at older persons. We're also looking at persons who want to remain virtual. So, there is a huge untapped market. There is immense opportunity. But we are, as much as we plan, there's a plan for the plan and a plan for the plan, because things are changing so much. That it's very challenging to have something very concrete so far out. And as is the industry, in the events industry, when it comes to large numbers like ours, is really looking at planning 2022, 2023. 2021 is not on their calendars, for any kind of large scale events. So, yep, Brian, we read our minds. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I remember last year this time, we would have just finished the South Beach Food and Wine Festival, where Taste Jamaica, we had our unique Jamaica night. This would have been our third year of having it. And, festival, we would have had, this year would have been the 20th anniversary, I believe, Kimmy, of the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And
it is a 20th, and it's still happening.
To participate again, but it's just interesting how major events have had to scale back and rethink how they have approached their audience. And that's something that we really have to look at. I think one of the things that have come out also in terms of innovation and maybe a sense of community is that we've seen a lot of restaurants and festivals and events supporting, communities that are underprivileged and looking at ways to continue to give back. And I think that's something that will continue to be a part of it. I know there is, even in our own hotel association, there is talk about how can we utilize and reduce food waste, because that's a big issue across the spectrum. And that's something in our own innovation and in our own thoughts in terms of our innovation in businesses. Reduction of food waste is critical, because during this pandemic, there are a lot of persons who, as you saw, were in food lines, lost their jobs and had to be in food banks trying to be able to feed family. And so that excess that we would have seen in the past, persons are, I think, more conscious of that. And is that something we have to think about when we plan going forward, to maybe not go back to living in the excess, but to be more conscious of the underprivileged and reducing food waste? What are our thoughts on that?
Well, from the vantage point that I have sat at now for the past, I'm really aging myself, 17 years. One of the things that I admire the most about working on events like South Beach Wine and Food or New York City Wine and Food Festival, or even other ones in New York, are that they did always have a food waste program in place, knowing that there were even greater nuances as far as, insurance for leftover food and getting people sick and that type of thing. And I know that's a concern that a lot of people have is, if I have this leftover food and I'm giving it away to an entity, what are the risk factors with giving away this food or donating this food? Because you don't want to then hear that you've gifted this food and then somebody gets sick from it. So there are a lot of logistics and nuances involved in doing that. But having said that, it can be done. When we look at the Sobe Festival model, for example, if you look at one of the their signature events that happen, Burger Bash for use of this conversation, would have 25 chefs creating 3,000, portions of burgers. There's just no way that you can consume that many in a night. People try, but at the end of the festival weekend, when you're looking at a span of 180 events across multiple cities, we had thousands of tons of food that were able to be given to food banks. But it required dedication, it required community, it required collaboration. And it required a lot of back-end logistical work to be able to say, okay, if I'm only using a third of the portion of food that I prepared, where does it go, throughout the process of the event? If during a food and drink event, for example, if Chef Lumley is there and he's preparing chicken skewers and he only uses 100 of the 200 portions he was given, there has to be a mechanic in place at the end of it to say, if your skewers are prepped, there's a refrigerator for it to go into when it's done. This is the food bank or the home that it'll be donated to, and they'll have to be picking it up at a particular time. There's just logistics involved in it. However, it's logistics that's worth it. And I think we have to look at that from a private sector, public sector partnership in terms of that component of it, to say it's not just canned goods that you can give to somebody, but restaurants who have created portions of food and haven't been able to meet the demand, and instead of throwing it away, where can we donate it to? Is there a community fish fry that we can put together? Is there a jerk pan man that is able to put some coal in his jerk pan on the side of the road and have a pop-up type of thing, and do it in a safe way, obviously. But I definitely see that trend kind of growing more and more as people are more in need and as food security is compromised. We definitely need to look at what we do with our wasted food or food that has been prepped but not used. It's an amazing thing to watch, to be honest, to see food trucks kind of loading in at the end of an evening and picking up hundreds of burger buns and thousands of pounds of meat that it's not going to waste.
Yes, I think that's definitely something we would want to see weaved more into the fabric of the Jamaican gastronomy experience. There are, for maybe another year or two, there will be many persons who will still be compromised financially coming out of this pandemic, who just will not get back to work. My own industry, which is tourism, we're looking at a 2023 recovery to pre-COVID levels. And so there are about maybe 80% almost of our industry that is unemployed at the moment. So there is going to be this lag time of persons and who would have lost those savings, because savings are being drained as we speak. And as a responsible industry, and in terms of what we're talking about in terms of innovation, this is maybe an area that we need to encourage persons to look at more deeply and to pivot and innovate around. So definitely we should see how we can focus on that some more. All right, so I'm going to do something unique. This time I'm going to ask the panelists if there's a question you'd like to ask one of your fellow panelists, that something in particular that you would like to hear from them and have them share on. Who would like to go first?
Wow. That's very unique indeed.
We're innovating.
Yeah, it's very innovative. I thought I would have saved that. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
So I have one from Monique,
Mm-hmm.
my good dear friend and partner from last year. So Monique, I know you guys are doing food delivery. Are you looking at doing grocer's boxes or garden boxes, or or are you currently doing it? I'm not sure. But there is a huge demand to have fresh produce delivered to your door. Do you guys have any current partnerships, or is that something you're looking into?
Well, we're definitely started going beyond just restaurant delivery. So we have a spin-off service that started some time ago, Quick Cards. But that's more doing, delivery from convenience stores, pharmacies, etc. But I think that creates a platform for other types of vendors to start to look to see how they could have on-demand delivery services work in their favor. So if there are vendors who are in a position to supply these kinds of boxes in a way that would travel well and would suit a delivery service, then I am definitely open to working with them for sure.
So there we go. We heard it here first. Opportunity. All right, who is next? Who would like to ask a question of one of the other panelists? Brian?
I have so many questions. I'm just trying to which one to direct them to. You open up a can of worms there.
Oh my goodness.
All right. I have one for Kimmy. Because wedding bells are in the air. I noticed that a lot of young people, because my fiance is 6 years younger than me. So it's a different generation than mine. They love like hotels.
6 years is a different. Okay, no comment.
That's a whole other conversation, Nicola.
Different. It depends on where. Remember, you're a different person every 5 years.
Okay.
Think about it. She's a different person. What I am asking is, so you see the wedding pattern and COVID, the restrictions and all of that. Mm-hmm. How do you see it in the future for young couples to know? Most of them look at, all right, you're not going to spend a lot of money on the wedding because you want to more put that money on the house. Mm-hmm. So how do you see it meeting in the middle, like a nice, like you still want to celebrate, but you don't want to spend the money on, I don't want to say trivial things, but right. You want the pictures to look good. You want to have fun. You may want to do the traditional walk down the aisle thing because, your parents, a proud moment for both our parents. But sure. After all of that thing is out of the way, we really just want to have a soca party and enjoy. That's really what it is.
So it's not limited to young people. In terms of trends and wedding trends and micro weddings right now, the truth is that I've been encouraging anybody who has recently gotten engaged or thinking about getting married to get married now. Separate and apart from the 10-person or 25-person restriction we have right now, the truth is it's the perfect excuse to get married and not have to invite half the people you're obligated to invite. That's the reality. It's been, I've had some couples go from 500 people down to 50. And you say to yourself, how are you able to scale that number? And the truth is that those 50 people are the people that really mattered. Everybody else was able to join by Zoom or, through pictures and videos. So I think that what the focus has been and will always be specifically to weddings is the experience for the couple and the people that mean the most to them. And my number one advice is when it comes to a guest list is if the person doesn't know your birthday, they probably shouldn't be invited. If they have to invite you to your birthday, then they probably should not be invited to your wedding. Aside from that, though, there have been some other iterations of it where they'll do the more formal, traditional side of things with family, with older family members in a morning style setting, and then reserve the evening time for their friends, the young people who kind of want to let loose and have more of a party vibe. That doesn't necessarily affect cost, though. And I know we're talking a lot about gastronomy, and this is kind of segueing into another side of things, but the truth is that food is a big part of anything that you do. So if you're going to be doing a morning session, then you're looking at minimum a coffee break and some, continental breakfast items at the bare minimum. And then when you go to nighttime, you're looking at nibbles and still having to feed people in some capacity. But, food has always been like a big role in celebrations like weddings. And so as you kind of think, and we can have a whole other offline conversation about wedding planning if you want,
That's a different seminar, Brian.
Okay. But I find that people are trying to make it an immersive experience for a weekend. So now that they're restricted to the number of guests that they have, instead of doing like a big one-day wedding for 120 people, for example, they're doing 40 people or 30 people, and they're having multiple events over the course of a weekend. It's kind of similar to what you and Asma have been talking about, and even changing the festival kind of iteration is that, you're still doing you're doing like a welcome dinner, that's for 12 people. Then you have your wedding on the Saturday, and that's for 25 or whatever the allowance is. And then Sunday you kind of have like a beach vibe with, your jerk chicken and your festival and that kind of thing. But, the wedding group is definitely getting ready to happen.
So to me, that's where the innovation comes in, Brian, from a gastronomy, because you now have to look at your wedding as a series of events, again, coming back to the series, and being able to provide a different cuisine depending on the time of day and who is coming and everything else. So I don't know if anybody watched The Big Day on Netflix, you know, we are a 7-day Indian wedding. So, you know, we might see Jamaicans now going to a 7-day wedding, but small. So, you know, 20 days day, 15 another day, a morning and evening. So you still may get up to your 500 persons, but maybe over 7 days. So and that may be where innovation comes in.
And even with the picture that you showed of the charcuterie board done by Pink Apron at that wedding, that's a huge trend, is grazing. Mm-hmm. People are less about doing bigger, larger, you know, buffets and sit downs. They want to graze. They want to have constant stations going so that they can pick and graze throughout. Now, is that COVID safe? Not really. But I can see that being a big post-COVID uptake, is having multiple grazing stations over a course of time, or personal grazing stations. You know,
I was just about to say, Kimmy, you could still do it, but you do personal, individual style instead of buffet service. Yeah,
exactly. But so smaller doesn't necessarily mean less expensive. Let me just put that up.
But that's definitely where, again, innovation comes in, because the individual portions for various events is something that you're going to have to do. So, you know, even in the hotels, we cannot do self-serve buffets anymore. So we have to have staff serve. But we've also seen for coffee breaks and conferences that we have done individual portions. So, you know, you'd have on that plate, you'd have your, you know, your Danish, your muffin, your fruit, and you take a plate. So that way you know, we're in protocol and we don't have persons sharing, you know, cutlery and so on. So that whole way, in terms of going back again, how do we present food, is going to innovate and be more personalized, individualized, and that's how we'll have to see ourselves going forward. Yeah, definitely. Anyone for a last question? I allowed any other panelists have a question for anybody else? Kimmy, you have any questions for anyone? Brian asks, Najma, Monique.
I think we need a whole other hour for all the questions that I have.
All right, I'll circle back to you, but just online on YouTube, Rosemary Headley Smith, thanks for watching. Rosemary is just saying that we have vast amount of food waste from hotels, cook shops, and restaurants. Bear in mind the large energy costs we incur as a nation. It's high time that we consider investing in biogas. So that's something, again, as we keep talking, that, you know, when we talk about innovation, it's not just in the food, but overall in the industry. And so that's a good suggestion coming from Rosemary on YouTube, looking at investing into biogas, and is there a potential partnership between government and private sector? So we had mentioned before looking at initiatives that include government and private sector, and I think that's something that we'd have to focus on, both from agriculture, maybe in terms of supply to the industry, but also in what, you know, as we say, with what we cook with. How do we give innovation in terms of even our own carbon footprint within the gastronomy space? How do we reduce our carbon footprint by utilizing biogas and other such solutions? So we looked at food waste, and now, as has come out, how do we also reduce waste in another way? So lots of interesting ways in terms of innovation, not just in the presentation of food. So we are coming up close to the end of our presentation, but I want to give each panelist an opportunity to just give some general comments or last comments. Is there something that you particularly wanted to highlight that we didn't focus on as yet? Something that popped into your mind as we were going through? Or is there a particular business that you want to share with our audience who has done some innovation and or continues to innovate, and you'd like to share their story with us? Let me see if you want to go first. Let's go with Brian. I don't think he heard me. Nazma, you seem more ready.
So listen, I want to say to everyone out there who's listening that there are a few things that we've been thinking about as a team as we plan. And a really important part of that is how do we help our community? You know, we spoke about it earlier, and community is also, I guess, another trending word. And it's beyond just how can we make a sale, you know, how can we grow a business. It really is about connecting with people. And so when we speak about food and beverage, I just want to put it out there that there is a need for persons in our community to have contact, and it may not only be via, you know, in person, but reach out to them, give them a call. You know, I've seen family members and friends, especially with the older community, you know, they show them how to use FaceTime or WhatsApp video, and you have Sunday lunch with them, because usually everybody go to grandma house on a Sunday and eat with her. Now grandma's left without having, you know, anyone really coming to visit. And I think there are a lot of opportunities that we can, you know, food is our love language in the Caribbean. And I think we need to really capitalize on that well beyond what we're doing, you know, in linkages and food and beverage. I think the human connection and the human part of what this pandemic has shown us is really important. And so I just put a challenge out there to everyone, you know, stay connected in a safe way. You know, sometimes we forget there's another generation ahead of us that has built this path for us. And we want to remain connected with them. And then the second thing I'll say is that, you know, we can all see the silver lining on the horizon. You know, we are all, you know, I hear Kimmy saying, boy, the wedding boom is coming. I see Brian planning, you know, all these new innovative things in his kitchen. But the truth is that in everything that we're doing right now, we cannot get there. We can get there sooner if we just all adhere to what all the government persons are asking. Guys, you know, wear your mask, sanitize, you know, because it's only going to affect all of us and all the innovation pipelines even more if we remain where we're at. And just to wrap up, I mean, it was a pleasure, you know, sharing this panel with everyone, and to, you know, the TEF and Linkages for hosting this. We have Jamaica Food and Drink Kitchens coming in stream in another couple of months, as well as JFD Market. It's going to be extremely exciting, you know, a test kitchen. It's a fully equipped space. And this was planned well before COVID. This was planned to give our tourists somewhere to come and learn how to cook our food, and a space for persons to get together and cook together and enjoy, you know, a high quality food experience. And so look out for that. But again, guys, stay safe, and thank you from our team to yours.
Kimmy, I think she was just about to, I think we lost her. Just want to say thanks to Kimberly Dunkley. She had to jump off. She has another presentation right after this. So I want to thank her for her participation. And I'm just going to ask Brian for closing if you have any last words, and then Monique, you can go next.
Yeah, sure. It's really been a pleasure being a part of the panel today, discussing innovation in the gastronomy scene, and I'm excited to hear the different contributions. And I really empathize with that message Nasba just shared, with the grandma and not seeing it, you know, as frequently. And it just made me think that there's a lot of other people who it's not such a great time for them right now. It's been a very long year, and it's really mentally draining as well. Not to mention the physical part of it. But I reiterate that message. I mean, follow the government protocols, wear your mask. You know, sometimes we get so fatigued by it all. Personally, I'm tired of wearing masks, but it has become so necessary that I'm so over COVID that I'm wearing my mask and sanitizing even more because I really wanted to go away. You know what I mean? I just really needed to to stop the spread, because I also empathize with the medical doctors and personnel in that industry. It just reminds me of no matter how we try to say, you know, guys, curfew's at 8, so the kitchen closed at 7. Everybody come at 7 o'clock. So just imagine the hospitals being flooded with people, because the difference between us and doctors is that we save lives through food, but there's nobody that's like a life risk. They literally save lives, and everybody's coming at them at one stop. You know, there's not enough space, there's not enough equipment, so I can't just imagine what they're going through. And then they're expecting you know, people are expecting them to save their life, you know, and you know, when it reached that critical moment is when people wake up. So I want to encourage everyone to follow the protocols so that we can get back to having fun times again. I literally sat down the other day thinking like, wow, I'd watch something on Netflix, or I'll watch a recap of Reggae Sumfest. I'm like, wow, look at when we could have been in a crowd. I mean, look at, and it seems so long ago. It's so weird. Like, it's just like, wow, look at pre-COVID time. You know, it must have been fun. Or you look at, I think I was watching Biggie Smalls documentary on Netflix the other day, and it's just like a club full of people. I'm like, yeah, that was one time.
We'll be there again.
So
one day.
I just want to say, you know, I'm excited for the different things that are coming up. But I want to encourage everyone to say, as but I'll just reiterate earlier, we have a strong responsibility to keep our customers safe. You know, within the industry, it's up to us and them to help the sustainability of it. Right? For when Jamaica opens back up again, I know tourists abroad miss Jamaica badly.
And we have lots of innovative gastronomy for them to enjoy when they come back.
It's going to be a boom for sure.
Monique, you get the last word.
Well, I mean, it's been a great discussion so far. Happy to have been a part of it. And I know it's been a tough time for a lot of entrepreneurs who are in the restaurant space, who are in the food event space. For those who are still chugging along, keep going. Think of ways that you can be innovative, you know, whether it's attractively priced and packaged bundles, or, you know, working with delivery partners like us to come up with maybe delivery only specials or curbside specials. You know, just keep thinking as creatively as you can, and continuing to innovate so that you can keep your head above the water until this thing clears.
Thank you very much. All right, I think we had a great panel today, and I just want to thank all of you for participating and sharing with us your thoughts, ideas, and how you have been able to innovate through this pandemic as we continue to grow Jamaican gastronomy. I'm just going to share with you now, before we close, just a reminder that the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival takes place this weekend on Saturday, and we'll be doing a virtual coffee festival with a little bit of a hybrid, because we will be, you know, encouraging our cafes across the length and breadth of Jamaica to celebrate the coffee festival with us as well. And we will be showcasing, starting on Saturday morning, Wake Up to Coffee, and then we will be having the finals of our barista competition and showcasing our baristas who have been competing, and we'll be showcasing their various products on Saturday as well. We will also be highlighting some of the many suppliers into the coffee industry and some of the unique products that they have been showcasing over the years. We'll also have a Cooking with Coffee series, which will include Tammy and Wayne Marshall, as well as we will have at the end a performance by Agent Sasko. So it's going to be an exciting, fun-filled day on Saturday. So stay tuned and definitely participate in that, and wake up with some Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee on Saturday morning and join us for a full weekend of celebrating coffee virtually and a little bit hybrid. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us for this second in our series of our Gastronomy Forum as we continue to push the envelope and celebrate Jamaican gastronomy as we innovate through a pandemic and look at how entrepreneurship and strength can be utilized to ensure that we continue to grow as an industry and to solve some of the many issues that have been faced on us using technology and other means. So as we close, thank you once again to our panelists. We look forward to see you on part 3 of our 5-part series. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating. Bye.
Within the heart of Jamaica. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Deep within the heart of Jamaica, a spirit flows and takes control. Deep within the heart of Jamaica, a rhythm roars and takes over your soul. And when we were pushed aside, we found a way to conquer. We would not be denied because we are the cornerstone. Oh, we feel it in our bones. Ancestral spirits here to guide us. We are never alone. This feeling, feeling, feeling. I got this feeling, feeling, feeling. This feeling, feeling, feeling. Healing, healing, healing. From the farmer down the corner, sipping coffee as he rides. Stepping out, he works so hard, it's no 9 to 5, yeah. To the mother's endless smile as she guides her growing child through the hustling, bustling streets of Kingston town, yeah. From the freedom songs of Marley, the philosophies of